Hi everyone, welcome back to Story Time with Kelly. I'm Kelly. For the next little bit for the stories today, they're actually you can call them an anthology if you want. They're the stories of me trying to find roommates and places to live in Los Angeles when I moved out there many years ago. I don't live there, of course, anymore, but I lived out there for a little bit. It was a crazy experience. I'll tell you about me trying to find jobs out there on a whole other day, because that's a whole other set of interesting stories. But for today, we're just going to talk about me trying to find places to live and roommates to live with. Some of this stuff you shouldn't try yourself, I might add. Ahead of time, you should know that before I'm coming out to Los Angeles, I had a plan. The plan just did not work because someone threw a giant wrench in that plan. Before I moved to Los Angeles, the media group that I worked for, and I had been the art director for a while, basically was being dissolved by what is the equivalent of the CEO. He decided to just get rid of that branch of his organization, which was his choice. A year before that, while working for the organization, I had met with him and just told him sincerely, I love what I do here, but I would love to do more music videos on a regular basis as a designer. Also, I would like to do film and TV. And at the time where I was from, there was no avenue to do that, not on a consistent basis. So at that time, he had said, hey, you know what? Within the next year, we will work on getting you out there, maybe finding you a replacement. And once you are out there, I have some well-known connections, names if I said them, you would for sure know. I have some well-known connections, people who I had met, and I will get you connected to him, is what he said. But he said, you have to be out there for this to work. I can't just start calling people now while you're here. There'll be too many bumps in the road, and people might want to meet you that day. So it's not like you can just fly in that day. You'll need to be in Los Angeles to start taking meetings and all that kind of stuff. Sound logical, didn't disagree. In the next months, life is going on just like normal. And in April of the beginning of our story, once again, this is several years ago. In April, in the beginning of our story, the CEO of the company and his son, my boss, call me in and they're like, hey, listen, you were really honest about a year ago that you want to do production design and costume design on a much bigger scale. I want to go ahead and just get rid of the whole media group, and you're going to be the first to know, but I'm going to work out giving you severance pay, and I'm going to get you out there to Los Angeles so that you can start getting connected. Once you're out there, I'll go ahead and start making the phone calls and do the introductions, but I can't really do it until you're out there. So a little bit like a sucker, I said yes. Not that I had a choice. He was going to dissolve the entire media group to begin with, but since this is going to happen, and I really, truly trusted this person, I thought, okay, well, in a weird way, it's kind of bittersweet, but this is kind of like a dream come true. So time passes. I take about a month off from like my last day, I think was May 31st of that year. And I convinced my two best friends to come out with me to Los Angeles to help me drive out there to get all my stuff, to take all my stuff. So they're not staying. They have 3 girls here at home in the home state that I'm originally from, and they'll need to get back there. But for now, they're gonna come out there with me. We will call them, how do you want to call them? We'll call them Julia and Sam. Julia and Sam. So Julia and Sam get in their van. They help put all my stuff in their van. They put all my stuff in their van. Also in my little Toyota Yaris. We get ready. We go across the United States, which takes about a day. We stopped overnight somewhere. We get out to Los Angeles. Now they're nervous. They've never been to Los Angeles, which, by the way, I will just say that even though I had visited Los Angeles multiple times, Los Angeles was not on its best behavior and did not leave a great impression at the time for the two of them. So that'll be a whole other story for a whole other day. But it was kind of like, imagine that you're dating someone and you're introducing them to your family, and like they show up drunk and high and belligerent and sleepy. That's basically how Los Angeles was for the first impression of Julia and Sam. But regardless, they were happy that, hey, I had severance pay. They had given me money. Other people had given me money. So getting out there, I probably had about almost $11,000, which I know is not a small amount. And also, this was several years ago. Now, one important thing to know is in my home state, working for this media group, I happened to meet and befriend someone who's actually from the Los Angeles area. She's originally from Manhattan Beach. She is great and wonderful. We will call her Kelsey, because I didn't ask her if I could use her real name, so we're just going to call her Kelsey. I still talk to her from time to time. So Kelsey is back in my home state, but she happens to have friends that have a house in Los Angeles, and they have a room that I could stay in for a couple of weeks while I'm trying to figure out life. So I think, hey, this could really work out. We'll call the couple that's in Los Angeles, we will call them Jude and Daisy. Jude and Daisy are a great couple. They have a little toddler. They have a really old dog. They let me stay in their house, which is part of a parsonage. They are pastors for a church that is located just in a good, like not a good neighborhood, but like a normal neighborhood in Los Angeles. And they're just helping their community on a regular basis, which is pretty cool. They're very real, down-to-earth people. So I got to stay with them for about 2 weeks, a little under 2 weeks. As I go out there, you know, we're all happy on the trip. Sam and Julie and I, it's a little scary, but it's going to be okay. They drop me off. They go home. What could go wrong at this point, right? I've got money in the bank. I've got like a week and a half to figure out logistically where I'm going to live. And it's important to note that at the time where I came from, in one of the flyover states, you could take however much money it would take, and you could take your money and go to an apartment place, and as long as you pass like a basic credit check, etc., you could actually pay for 6 months ahead of time for a lease. That was the thing you could do, but you couldn't do that in Los Angeles. I did not know that at the time, but I was about to find out. So in my mind, okay, well, I've got a week and a half to find a place to live. That's fine. I'll just go and I will go ahead and get a 6-month lease on some place that may be a little bit more expensive than I want, but it'll give me some time to really get my bearings for Los Angeles. In the meantime, at Jude and Daisy's place, they actually have a Scottish family that is on sabbatical from Scotland, who I get to meet and befriend. Still see them on Instagram. They're great people. And I remember them saying at one point, "Oh my gosh, Kelly, it's so brave that you came out here without knowing really anybody at all." And I was like, "Oh, thank you. It's not brave really, because I have someone that I'm fairly close to, and they're going to make connections for me while I'm out here. But I thank you. Yeah, it's scary because I don't really know anybody, but it'll all work out. It'll be okay." Little did Kelly know that the person back home that had made all these promises is going to fall off the face of her earth pretty quickly. So about a week and a half in, I have communicated with my former boss, my former CEO. "Hey, I'm here, I'm ready." And this was not a surprise. Like, he knew that I was leaving. He sent his executive producer to my going away party, etc. So there was no confusion that yes, Kelly had finished her position. The rest of the media team, little by little, is being phased out. There was no surprise. He knew exactly what was going on. But for reasons that I will get into, I don't know, maybe later, maybe today, we'll see. No help came. So I'm there in Los Angeles. Sam and Julia are back home at this point. They've driven home. They're actually going on vacation to Florida. I'm in Los Angeles. I really don't know anybody. I barely know Jude and Daisy, and they're great people, but they have a full house. And the room I'm staying in, they've already planned for a family from Brazil who are missionaries. They are going to come almost like a day and a half after my set time. They're going to come and take over my room. So I have to be out of there. This is a family with like small children, etc. And he was extremely gracious for the two of them, for Daisy and Jude, to actually even make arrangements for me. They didn't even know me, and it was still wonderful of them. They're phenomenal people, I might add. So I really don't know anybody. It's very clear pretty quickly, hey, all of this help that was promised by not only your CEO, but to an extent his spouse, none of that's going to happen. Or out of the 100% that was extremely clear of what was going to happen, maybe 5% is going to happen. And there was really no way I could have known that. I had worked with and for these people for 10 years. If you would have told me that this situation was going to turn like this, there was no way to know. But here's a little nugget for later. As it would turn out, we wouldn't find this for late until much, much later. The CEO was actually kind of imploding his own life. He was doing some uber sketchy junk that he shouldn't have been doing, and he's about to get busted for that, which is part of the reason he's not even helping me. But that's a whole other story. Here I am, Los Angeles. oh my gosh, all of this help that I thought was going to happen, none of it's going to happen. Oh my gosh, my loved ones are now back home. They're actually on vacation. I do have money, but what do I do? Like very quickly, I realized, oh my gosh, you might be homeless soon. And so I know I had money. So I thought, okay, if you have to, you could go like rent a hotel room for a week or do like extended stay. But you're talking about dropping probably $1,000, which would be roughly 10% right off the bat of all the money that you have. And you have to make that last enough so that you can make your connections, etc. Oh my gosh. I don't have a job at this point. So I don't have a place to live. I don't have a job. I don't have anybody I know. I do have money in the bank, which is great. So, I'm not going hungry, but I don't know. It's like somebody pushing you into the ocean and say, swim faster. I'm just scared at this point. Plus I'm homesick. It's been like, I don't know. It's only been like 3 weeks at this point. I'm terribly homesick, which I will somewhat get over eventually. I just start praying. Lord, you got to help me. What am I going to do? I do think for like 2 days, I'm like, Kelly, you could live in your car. It's Los Angeles. Now, Los Angeles has gone through a lot over the past several years, but before all the stuff that's happened over the past several years with homelessness extremely rising, theoretically, I could have lived in my car. I don't encourage that for anybody, male, female, young or old. Mainly female especially, but I thought, just for a day or two, you could do it. Then I thought, Kelly, that's nuts, you can't. So as a side note, I used to co-facilitate a self-defense class with a friend of mine back home. And one of the things we talk about is the best defense is not even being there. Don't even be in the bad situation if you can avoid it. So I thought, no, Kelly, you can't live in your car, that's stupid. Okay, well, what am I gonna do? I don't wanna bleed out on the money. I just start praying again, Lord, you gotta show me, I don't know what to do. As it happens, at the same church that Jude and Daisy work for, that they pastor, they actually have one of their friends that my friend from Kelsey knows, and we're gonna call her, we're gonna call her Carrie. I had to give myself a little cheat sheet. So I barely know Carrie. I've only known her for maybe 2 weeks, but I had this idea of like, well, Carrie lives by herself. You could ask Carrie if you could live with her maybe for a few weeks and pay her money while you're just trying to figure out everything that's going on. Because the few people that I know already have realized, Kelly's not in a great situation because all this help that was supposedly going to come is not going to come at all. This is a broken deal as far as we can tell. So I think about going to talk to Carrie and saying, Carrie, what if I lived with you for a little bit? So when I thought about this on a Friday night. I have to be out in a day and a half, a little bit under a day and a half. And I just think, well, what am I going to do? I go and find Carrie. They're having a giant church-wide garage sale so they can make funds for some mission or something. I don't remember. And Carrie's out there kind of managing things, taking care of people, etc. I find her and I just think, okay, this is one of the boldest, stupidest things I've ever done. But she might say yes. The worst she could do is say no. And also, you've not even known her for 2 weeks. How bad is it if she's going to say no? So I was like, hey, Carrie, you know that I'm trying to find a place to live, and I really haven't made any progress on that. I was just wanting to know if is there any way I might be able to live with you for a few weeks, and I could pay you like maybe close to a month, and I could pay you maybe like $500 or more. And so Carrie just looks at me like this. She pauses and she just looks at me like my hair is on fire and that I'm a little crazy and that I'm trying to, understandably, she thinks as if she thinks I'm trying to run a con on her. So she pauses and I can't say she's a little weird. She's very weird about this. I think, maybe I freaked her out and offended her. Carrie ends up saying, well, you're going to have to come and look at my apartment because it's a studio apartment and it's small. Like, okay, because it's a studio apartment. You know that, right? Like there's not an extra bedroom. It's just like my bed and my couch and my TV. I have a huge kitchen, but the apartment's small. And she kind of keeps going on about it. I was like, listen, if it's bigger than my Toyota Yaris, then it's good enough for me. So she says, okay. So I'm going to go over there and look later. I do go and look. It's a very typical Los Angeles apartment or a New York apartment. Either way, it's been built, several decades ago. Doesn't have AC, which is pretty typical for both New York and LA if it's an older building. The kitchen is huge though, But she's right. The rest of it is very well done. Like, she's decorated it perfectly. There's a little bathroom, also pretty small, but that's pretty typical for both of those places in the world. So I'm thinking, oh, this is great. This is about my car. Yes, this will work. So I said, hey, this would be great for me. Like, how much do you want? Like, would 500 work, or 550 or 600? And she goes, 500 will work just fine. And I'm going to stay there for, I think it was 28 days. She had checked her lease to make sure that I could do this, because I didn't want to get her kicked out. And at the time on her lease, you could have somebody stay with you if it was 29 days or less. If it was more than 29 days, that was a whole thing. But I could stay there for basically a month. Oh my gosh, what a godsend. So I'll tell you a little bit more about that here in just a second, because it's kind of an amazing story. So now at the moment, at least I have a place to live. I still need to find another place to live, and I don't have a job. So naive Kelly starts to call a few of the apartment places that I have seen, that I've looked at online or driven by. And basically this is what happens. I wish I had my phone, but it's recording. So what would happen is I would call, we'll say ABC Apartments. I would call ABC Apartments, say, hi, hey, I am new to the area and I was just wanting to know, I don't have a job, but I was trying to see if I could pay ahead of time. Click. They hung up. We must have got disconnected. That's just crazy. I'll just call back. I call back, same scenario. Hi, I think we just got connected. I was just calling to say, I'm new to the area. I don't have a job yet, but I do have money. Click. I was like, uh-oh, that was not an accident. So I call a few other places, and basically the same thing happens. The fourth place I call, the woman on the other end at least didn't hang up on me, but she said, listen, honey, nobody's going to rent you a place if you don't have a job. She goes, there's entire buildings that we had to evict over the last year because people that were wealthy couldn't even afford to keep their lights on, and they were basically living like squatters. So no, you need to give that up. And then she hung up on me. But I'm glad that she told me that, because I would have had no idea. Now I'm having to think of, oh my gosh, I got to get a job. I don't even have a real address, but I got to get a job. So I got to get a job, then I got to get a place, or do I get a place and then get a job? Panic is still going on strong. I get to the point where I realize you need to start applying for jobs like insanely fast. Whatever you can do. If you want to be an assistant, if you want to be, sure you can do a designer, but whatever you're going to do, because I have several skills that are marketable. I start to apply. I've applied to, by the time I leave Los Angeles, I have applied to, hundreds and hundreds. I should have kept track of it. I'm going to say at least 1,000. I'm not even kidding. 1,000 different jobs for everything you can think of, which once again, some great stories. That'll be for another day. So I'm living with Carrie. My time is just about to come up. She has been phenomenal, by the way, in helping talk me off of the ledge multiple times. Because she realizes when she's going to work, I'm just sitting in the apartment all day applying for jobs online. And it's not just sending resumes. I have to update my resume every single time. And on every single dang website, I have to not only give them my resume, but I have to enter in the entire resume as well. Yeah, I'm still obviously bitter about that. That's so dumb. She realizes when she comes home, holy crap, Kelly just literally been trying to get a job all day long. She's mentally fried. Carrie had the idea, listen, honey, you got to take a break. You got to get out more, like go to a movie or something. Also, hey, how about you watch some TV or something? How about you watch Fringe? You'll love Fringe. So she got me started on Fringe. I'd never watched Lost. Like, it'd been a while since it'd been out and finished and everything else, and people I knew loved it, but I was always just going to wait until all of it was over and you could watch it digitally. So I started to watch Lost as well. Two of the best things that she could have ever suggested to me. As all this is going on, the CEO has a son who we will call Hadley. Yes, I just picked this name out of a hat. So Hadley, the CEO, has multiple children back home. And Hadley happens to work in sound engineering. He's really good at it. And he's actually been in Los Angeles for about a month longer than I have. He is a great guy. He's the different one in his family. And a couple times he's like, hey, we should just meet up and catch up and see how things are going. Now, I don't have the heart to tell him, hey, your dad has left me hung out to dry Because at this point, I'm just thinking somehow it's got to have been a misunderstanding. Maybe they had a family emergency come up. Maybe something happened. Like, benefit of the doubt. Surely all of this is on accident. This can't be for real. I meet up with Hadley, and he has an apartment in Echo Park, which is also one of my favorite areas of Los Angeles. So I go meet Hadley. We're talking about how things are going. He's in the same boat. He's desperate to find a job. It just so happens a friend of a friend has this apartment available in Echo Park, so it's perfect. And one of Hadley's friends, which I kind of know as well, who's a filmmaker, he's going to come out from our home state. And there's someone else, I don't remember how they met him, but he's also going to be there in the apartment. So Hadley has me over for dinner. We talk, we catch up. It's so good to see him. We even say, hey, he's like, hey, why don't you meet up with me at this, we'll call it Waterview Church. Why don't you meet me up at Waterview Church on Sunday? My dad's supposed to come in and maybe he'll buy his lunch. I was like, okay, your dad didn't need to buy my lunch, but yeah, so I'd get to see your dad? Yes. He and I meet at Waterview. His dad is supposed to be there already. His dad doesn't show up until basically the service is over with and is acting uber sketch. So his dad, who just will stay nameless, basically as he's saying hi to Hadley and myself, he's like literally he looks like he's on crack. I mean, he wasn't, as far as I know. But you can tell he's as if he's going to get busted by somebody. Like, okay, this is just a weird version of him. And in the moment, I think the reason he's acting weird is because he knows, hey, you've left me out high and dry and you're uncomfortable with that. That's why I thought he was acting that way. That was not why he was acting that way. His dad, so Hadley and his dad end up going off to lunch by themselves because Hadley's dad's like, oh yeah, I got to tell you some family stuff that's going on, which was nothing actually. He just didn't want me to be around, which once again was hurtful. But so Hadley and I just keep in touch. We text every couple of days. And then Hadley knows of my situation, knows that I'm having trouble finding a place to live, etc. And Carrie's place, I mean, we're on like day 20, maybe day 22. So it's pretty quick here. I'm in the same dang boat. I got to find another place to live. So Hadley texts me and goes, hey, I was talking to the guys because they have it's a 3-bedroom apartment in Echo Park, and it has a huge living room, pretty good sizable kitchen, and it even has a washroom that is not very small either. So there's plenty of room technically. So Hadley says, hey, listen, I was talking to the guys, and you, at least maybe next month, what if you came live with us? You'll have your own room. The two of them will bunk up together because there's a large bedroom. The two of them will share that bedroom. He said, I still need my own because I stay up until 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning doing sound engineering. But you'd have your own bathroom, etc. And even though it's going to be the biggest room, we'll just split the rent in 25% for each of us, which is really, really sweet. Oh my gosh, yes, thank you. Godsend. Still one of the best times I've lived with people. They're sweet, they're fun, they're kind, they're intelligent, they're creative. So that was a good experience. But now I've gone from, in the span of a little over 2 months, this is the 3rd place I've lived, which once again was not my favorite. In all of this, 2 other things have been happening. First off, and this is just kind of how it is in the bigger cities. If you have never lived in a bigger city and tried to find a roommate, this is how it usually is. It is not uncommon. In fact, it is more common for you to try and find a roommate on Craigslist or Roommate Finder or Apartment Finder, or you name it. There's like all of these different places you can find a roommate. Yes, that means you're going to live with a complete stranger that you have never met before. They could be a serial killer. Yeah, they could be, but they could also be your new best friend. I mean, who knows? Everything in life is a risk. And I'll say that again. Everything in life is a risk. I don't know if I would do this again though. More stories to come in our next episode. Okay, epilogue. I forgot to mention one really cool thing. So on Carrie's story, you remember when she looked at me like I was crazy when I was asking if I could stay at her place? Well, here's why. So she told me like months and months later, she's like, hey, you remember when you asked me if you could move in with me at the church garage sale? And I acted kind of weird. I was like, yeah, I do. So she works for a well-known, fun, unique grocer that you can find across the United States that you've probably been to. And she's worked for that company for quite a while. She loves it. It's a great fit for her, etc. But she has to by her own choice, she takes a lot of time off. And even though she does have a lot of vacation time, this particular time in her life, this particular month, she had taken off a significant amount of time where she was gonna have a much smaller check than she had anticipated. So that morning, she had just received her paycheck, and it was significantly less than what she had mentally planned on. And it was really her fault. She had misjudged everything. So she kind of panicked, and she's like, oh my gosh, God, how am I gonna make rent? It's due in 2 days, and how the heck am I gonna make $500? This is nuts, I just need your help. So like 2 hours later, I approach her at the garage sale saying, hey, can I live with you? And I can pay you money, etc. So she said that's why she acted so odd, because it was so stunning. It was a good thing, and it was so stunning, and it helped her and it helped me. So I just thought you'd find that interesting. A great little epilogue to an interesting story.